Hi, my name is Lisa Ward, and I'm running for office in Alabama. Many times we fail to realize how critical exercising our voting rights are. We often see in our climate things that make us feel like our vote doesn't matter or count. I'm here to debunk that myth and tell you countless times a race was too close to call, and it could have been your vote that made the difference. State laws change, and while we aren't paying attention, often they affect our voting rights. For example, there's a law in place that basically says if you don't use it, you'll lose it. But what does that mean? It means if you do not exercise your right to vote in two consecutive federal elections, the Secretary of State has the right to purge you from the eligible voter registration database. Now, for that reason alone, we don't want that to happen. Voting is a responsibility we have to show interest in sustaining our freedoms for democracy in this country. And the moment that we stop caring about those fundamental rights, authoritarian government can slide in and our voice is gone. Each generation owes this pay it forward effort to protect what others before us have provided us, and it is our responsibility to do the same for those after us. So, I want to spend a few minutes explaining to you something many might not have attempted to do before. I want you to understand how important elections are, how critical knowing individual candidates are, forgetting about a straight ticket vote, and taking the time to hand select each candidate that has put themselves out there for public service. They deserve our effort to look at their name on that ballot and be counted. That happens when you color in their dot on election day. This is one way to prevent voter fraud and hindering anyone tempted to split your ticket by coloring in a circle you might have overlooked. Let me give you an example of why all elections are vital, especially midterm elections. That is when people aren't paying attention, but there are no electoral college votes interfering with our choices. It truly is one voice, one vote. And we need to take advantage of that. When you don't vote, you decrease the number of voters that are counted, and polling locations are reduced because of it. There is no need for them if there is no voters showing up to vote at them. And one more thing, just as an example of why your votes do count. In our climate today, for example, folks aren't happy with their police officers and the job that they do. I hope that you realize the sheriff you elect hires and determines the officers in your neighborhood so that can be prevented by making sure that you know the leader of that department is worthy of our votes. So let's get started. I want you to understand what elected officials are responsible for and how their role affects your life. Shall we? Let's talk about the U.S. House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is the lower chamber of the two legislative bodies in the United States federal government. The House is currently made up of 435 representatives. It's referred to as a congressman or a congresswoman who serve an unlimited number of 2-year terms. The number of representatives from each state is based on the state's population, hence the census data every 10 years and currently redistricting. As required by the Constitution, representatives must reside in the state from which they are elected. They must have been a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years and be at least 25 years old. A representative's primary duties include introducing, debating, and voting on bills, proposing amendments to those bills, and serving on committees. The House has the exclusive powers to initiate all tax and spending bills and to impeach federal officials. Their yearly salary for a U.S. congressional representative is, I believe, $174,000.